You've done, I've looked over your CV. You're very prolific in your writing. You also have a lot that you do with advising students, mentoring students, the 3-minute thesis kind of competitions. Could you talk a little bit about, how you bring in the students, or, what do you get out of mentoring them?
Right. So I think there's a number of different things that we in academia do with different students. Of course, graduate students, whether they be DVM PhDs or PhD students or masters or what have you, that's, obviously a big chunk of what we do. One other half of my lab that I haven't talked about is actually funded by NIH through an R15, and it's looking at some aryl hydrocarbon receptor ligands on the immune system. And the R15 mechanism is kind of cool because it actually has an expectation in it that you will train undergraduate students. And so we bring in undergrads. We don't have any undergraduates in the vet school, but on main campus, there's, obviously thousands of undergrads who are thinking about med school, vet school, pharmacy school, nursing school, grad school, what have you. And they're all very interested in getting research experience. So that has allowed me to bring on some students and get them trained in the lab, give them some ownership of their project, get them out presenting, whether it be regionally or even nationally. And then the other pocket of students I have access to are the veterinary research students, those students who come and they do research for, that summer after. So that has been very good. And I think what I get out of it is it gives me an opportunity to teach about the science, which I really love to do. And especially as the different students ask me questions, I learn how to teach that more effectively. Because in my brain, everything is so, well, okay, maybe not always, but everything's so clear. Like if I have to go up to the lab and I've got to do, some kind of procedure, in my brain, I just know, okay, I've got to, do this and then add that and, whatever. Conveying that to a student, is another level. And when they ask me questions on that or even scientific concepts, I learn about how to better convey my science. And I think the other thing is that, as scientists, I think it's so important for us to learn how to talk effectively about our science and our projects and the scientific process. So I do encourage my students to get involved with giving as many presentations they can, participating in things like the 3-minute thesis on campus, which I think is at almost every graduate school in the United States and probably abroad, and just teaching them how to deliver that message effectively. So, and then for me, it's really cool to see them do well. It's really neat to go to their seminar and have them, blow me away with an amazing talk. And, I never thought about, putting that slide there or whatever. And I just like hearing how they see the project, because I'm always learning from them, I hope, as much as they're learning from me.
It's like cultivating a garden almost.
Yeah, yes, right. Yeah.
But that's a real gift. There's some people that are naturally good teachers and mentors, and it's easy for them to do that and to nourish and encourage. And then there's people that it's just not in their wheelhouse. But the idea that you've got to learn how to communicate, and there are definitely some skills, and that practice, and
Yes.
having somebody to give you good feedback, because if you don't have good feedback, well, then, you're not going to do well.
Right.
You'll learn the
Yeah.
wrong
So
way.
I definitely do that. I think the thing about being a good mentor is definitely you have to be willing to take on the students who really have very little experience and, work with them. And I understand. Some people don't have the time to do that. Sometimes these students walk in and like they've never seen a, handheld pipette in their life. And so that's sometimes where I'm starting, which is fine. And I know that I'm going to have to put the time in to get those students to the point where they're, running an assay independently and showing me the data. So I don't mind doing that. And I have my schedule set that I can do those kinds of things. And the other thing is my lab is really, a group work lab. So we do a lot of, team stuff, and the students work together. I think the biggest point of advice that I have started giving the students when they're looking for a research experience, even if it's just the summer research that, is 10 or 12 weeks, is to find where you fit. Because there are some students who react very well to kind of this hands-on training, and there are some students who don't, and likewise, and vice versa is true as well. So I always tell them, even if you want to come into this program and you want to work with, the best giraffe researcher at Mississippi State or whatever it is, because you love giraffes, and you go into that lab and you think, gosh, I don't know if I'm going to work well with the way that this lab operates. You might have to put the giraffe research on the back burner and go to a lab where you're going to be happier and learn more. So I think understanding the expectations of the people who come into your lab and making sure that you convey your expectations is a big part of mentoring as well. And so just making sure they know kind of what they're getting into.